Firstly, I just wanted to say, yeah, thank you for agreeing to be my guinea pig, be my first interviewee.
No worries at all.
The reason I asked you to do an interview with me is because I think you're a real person in that you're not like someone that seems inaccessible, like let's say someone on Dragon's Den or someone you might see on Instagram or whatever. Like you're a real person doing real work, and you're in the middle of your sort of struggle to sort of, you know, get to where you want to go. But then also you're actually doing things that people aspire to do. Like you're your own boss essentially. Like, you know, you work for yourself. You've got your self-employment, but then you also got your businesses that you're building. And I think, there's a lot that you can share about your story that will inspire others, help others.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, yeah, just sort of starting there, like, can you just sort of tell us a bit about what you do?
So, what I do, I probably sometimes think I'm a jack of all trades, but I am starting to get to a point where, you know, I know what makes me tick, and I know exactly what makes me passionate as well, and I'm starting to focus on those. So one of my main things, in terms of what I'm doing right now, I am running two companies. One's called Marmalade, and one's called, two companies, but one of them is basically just my freelancing company, and the other one is a limited company where I basically represent, where it's a influencer marketing agency as well as a talent management agency as well, where we represent talent from various cultural backgrounds, and we basically connect them with brands as well as with opportunities out there.
Okay. And the other side, the freelancer
side, yeah, that has a long backstory behind it. So I have been a freelancer since, started freelancing in 2008. And it's been a long journey. So basically, you know, just, building in terms of experience, in terms of just the types of clients I'm working with, and just in terms of skills as well. So currently I freelance, by working with, a few startups, a few clients, as well as some established businesses as well. So I offer design services, branding services, as well as, sort of brand consulting from time to time for brands and for businesses looking for very, very specific sort of advice around how to grow their brand or how to, you know, refresh their brand as well.
So are those like two things that you sort of plan to continue doing, or is the plan to sort of move to make Marmalade more of the focus?
I would say at the moment, there's a consolidation process happening where I'm trying to basically merge everything that I'm working on into maximum one or two different pots, just so that I can really focus my you know, efforts. Because the things that I just mentioned, so Marmalade mentioned the freelancing or contracting business as well. Those are those are primary things that I do. But then on the side as well, I'm a design partner or a co-founder for a tech company, where we're building a remittance product. So, what I mean basically is, an app that people can use to send money back to Africa. So we're building like a comparison tool where, let's say you're going to send money back to your hometown. Let's say it was Nigeria or you know, it was Ghana. It would basically, you go on there, you type in the exact amount that you want to send, and it helps you compare with all the providers out there and finds you either the cheapest rate or the quickest rate.
Yeah, I think that's such a great idea. What's the name of that project?
Zazuu. Zazuu has been in the making for probably about 3 to 4 years now, and I'm one of the co-founders out of 4 people, and we run Zazuu. We've run Zazuu for the last 3 to 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the chief design officer, as they call me, CDO. We've got CEO, we've got a CTO as well, and we've got a CO. So, the chief operating officer, basically. And we're four guys of African background. And one of our main focus, basically, is to give people the freedom of choice. Because what actually sparked this whole thing is we realized that everyone's always saying, we've got the cheapest rates, I won't mention names now of certain companies, but, people say, yes, we've got the best rates, we've got this, but actually there's no way of truly telling, who's the cheapest or who actually offers the best value for money, basically. So, we thought, why don't we build a tool that basically helps compare all these different providers on one platform, just so you can see, and there's absolute transparency in the different rates offered by people. The current status quo is people that want to send money either have their preferred providers that they use. Some people use Western Union, some people send money directly via their banks, some people use providers like Azimo or World Remit, and each of those providers offers something good, but there's never really an opportunity where you can compare them in a very seamless way, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So that's what we're building, just to really empower people and give people the choice, and just to give people the freedom to choose.
Yeah, I'm really surprised there's nothing that actually compares sort of how you can send money sort of home or whatever. I'm like really surprised there's no platform that sort of does that. It does seem like a gap that needs to be filled.
Definitely. I mean, some of the different providers, if you went onto their website, very few of them actually show how they compare to like their competitors. What we're absolutely trying to build is a Skyscanner for the renters market, where no one ever goes directly to VA or to Virgin. Everyone would always check on Skyscanner first to see if you can get the best rate, and then from there you then book your flights by Skyscanner, basically. So it's the exact same thing that we're trying to do.
Yeah. No, that sounds really exciting. But I think with something like Zazuu and what you're doing there, having a project like that, you're the chief design officer or creative officer. Yeah. And sort of having your sort of your freelancing as well, where, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's sort of that's like the bread and butter. That's where you sort of, that pays the rent, that sort of, covers most of the, And then also sort of starting, Marmalade, which is another business sort of working with, creative and influencers. That's a picture of somebody who is their own boss and is on their way to sort of start sort of multiple businesses. But that's where you are now. Like, I mean, where did this whole journey begin? Where did it start? Where did this path start?
So in 2008, I just dropped out of uni, and prior to dropping out of uni, I was studying architecture. So I went into uni around 2006, and I was studying architecture. And whilst at uni, I started freelancing on the side. There's a long story to how I haven't got to freelancing, but I basically didn't want to do any sort of menial jobs such as working in a bar or working in. I felt like
Tesco
retail. Not that there's anything wrong, but with me personally, I felt like I could do more with what I had in my hands as opposed to going to trading time for money and, yeah. So at the time at uni, a whole bunch of people were starting to do, there's like, student parties and, events and social events. So I became the guy that started doing flyers for a whole bunch of people. So I was working with quite a lot of event organizers, some of them based in the same uni as me, and some of them so based in other unis as well. And very, very quickly, between 2008 and 2010, it rapidly went up to a point where, if I was to quantify how well I was doing, maybe a good metric to use is money. Like I was making way more money than I guess a lot of my mates were at the time. And, it was until one day it just dawned on me that university for me is a bit too slow. I felt like I was learning more by myself than I was learning, attending classes, and doing all these things. So I just thought, why am I going to wait for a time where, eventually I might get a job and like I'm already making money right now. I'm already, building something. I do have clients. I'm starting to get a rough idea of how business works and how to make money in a consistent way. Because that was my major thing is I just don't want to make money and, it spikes for 1 year because I saw so many people do that where, they make money 2-3 years and you don't hear about them again or whenever they started kind of just so a sustainable way of making money was really what appealed to me. And for me, business was just the natural progression. So after 2 years of freelancing between 2008 and 2010, I decided, okay, my workload is really gone uphill. So I need to definitely either hire some people or, build some sort of team. So that's where the idea to, launch my first agency actually came. So in 2010, I founded Swifty Studios. And Swifty Studios was a branding agency focused on working with startups, working with small to medium sized businesses as well. In every aspect of, the creative sort of offering creative services such as, branding, building websites for them, designing logos for them, designing marketing materials for them.
So what's it called? Can we pause the story there? I've got a few questions about that. So going from architecture to sort of designing sort of flyers for parties or whatever it's all in sort of the world. It's creative. But why did you want to do architecture sort of originally? And did you let go of that sort of whatever sort of pushed you to sort of go for architecture to go into sort of designing flyers purely based on sort of the money you sort of was bringing in? Was it just following the money?
So, what actually got me, so if I was to probably even rewind a little bit more further. So I came to the UK in 2004, June the 7th exactly. So it's, so came in and I've always been someone that I knew how to draw. I was very, artistic, I drew quite a lot of comics and just, I was always drawing, So my mom automatically assumed that meant, fine, you were creative, but as a Nigerian boy born to Nigerian parents, they, there's only kind of like very few main careers they would allow you to go on. One, you gotta be a doctor, you gotta be a lawyer, you gotta be an engineer, you gotta be, a pilot, potentially, you gotta be an architect. So my mom assumed that since you can draw, then you can draw buildings. So if you can draw buildings, then you should be an architect. So I thought I said yes, but it never really sat well with me at all, cause I just knew that.
So she sort of steered you in that direction.
And I went to college here between 2004 and 2006. And during
Mm-hmm.
college, I did, what was it again? I did physics, uh, I did physics, I did maths, I did English, and I did IT, basically. And
Mm-hmm.
it was getting towards the end of my second year where you start to think about university and blah, blah. And I just remember telling my mom, I don't feel like I want to do architecture anymore because, so by the way, I did those courses specifically just to, cause that's what you needed to have that to study architecture. Yeah.
To be able to do
Yeah. You need to
architecture.
understand
Okay.
calculations and physics and, cause you're building,
Yeah. So maths and physics essentially were the key sort of subjects in that.
And I did IT
yeah.
just cause, just cause I wanted to. And I did English.
It's interesting. Yeah. The same reason I did it.
I did English cause when I came, I think there was a massive culture shift in terms of my understanding of English. Yes, we spoke English in Nigeria properly as well, went to decent schools as well, but the way English was taught and was spoken here was completely different. So I felt like I needed to.
Yeah. How did you find it? Was that a bit of a shock? Because that's A level as well.
It was
that's
a massive shock. Like, my first, my first exam, when I was doing, AS, there's AS and A, is it AS and A2? Right?
Yeah, that's how it used to be, isn't it?
So when I did my first year of college, I passed all my other courses, physics, maths, IT, because, the very technical, things, and I can be very, very technical as well when I have to. But English, I really struggled because, there was a lot of nuances that was just so different in terms of how you write exams. Anyway, I won't bore you with the long story. I failed it. I think I got I got E. And then I had to redid the exam, and actually got a U, which meant, this is,
oh, wow.
It actually went down. Yeah.
It went the other way, yeah.
After that, I was like, I'm not doing this in A2 in my second year. So I dropped English, then I replaced English. Did I replace English? No, I didn't. So I just dropped English. Then when I finished my second year of college, I basically then, was faced with the decision. Do I go to uni? Do I start applying for UCAS? I didn't. I managed to, because I just didn't feel right about doing architecture. So I said to my mom, right, I just want to work. So I'm going to look for a job and do like a apprenticeship, I think. And whilst doing so the goal was to try and find an apprenticeship that pays me because I like to learn practically. Like that's just my preferred way of learning, basically.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way.
I sometimes it makes me feel like maybe I'm not as smart as other people because I learn practically because sometimes it's like, sometimes it feels like I learn in the way you teach kids, where you show them, right, that's a square, now say square, but that's just how I've always learned. And
I think it's just sort of different sort of learning styles. I don't think one is better than the other. I think maybe the world, sort of recognizes or celebrates one type more than another. Like, I mean, it's seen as more intellectual to sort of be able to do things theoretically, like read a book, understand it, know how it works and be able to do it. But like, I don't know, like I'm like you, like I feel like I have to do something rather than I have to practice it rather than just watching somebody or reading about it. I need to do it to be able to learn it. But I also feel like that's the best way to do it.
I agree.
That's the best way to learn.
I agree, but I've always had this. By the way, I didn't even know that that was your way of learning too. I'm just learning that bit.
Yeah, no. Yeah. There's a lot of similarities actually, because just listening to your story about English, I mean, I grew up in England, but like, as you know, sort of state school education in certain areas is not the greatest. So like, I was good at maths because maths was something where if you sort of did it, you practiced, you're always good at it, and it's sort of logic. I think with language, it's not as easy to sort of pick up because it's not as logical, especially like the English language, like, the same, different words are said different way, but it's spelled the same way. Like there isn't the same sort of logic that sort of flows. So yeah, I did AES sort of English, and it wasn't that I didn't do very well either. So I don't even have the excuse from sort of coming from another country with sort of different sort of culture or whatever. But like, no, it's something I wish I sort of applied myself.
No, same here. Same here. I do, you know, think about it, but I guess, over the years, I've had to, you know, learn, you know, how to read properly and how to, you know, just how to really, you know, analyze things and actually write properly, just by doing it consistently and just by practicing over and over, basically. So yeah, going back to, so I started looking for, apprenticeships, and I had interviews with all sorts of companies, you know, car companies and manufacturing companies. Anyway, it was tough. I wasn't hired by any of them. Went for a whole bunch of interviews, so kind of felt down a bit, and I thought rather than do nothing and just waste this gap year that I've taken, why don't I actually do something I love, something I've actually chosen to do, you know? So I went back to college and I did a foundation course in arts and design. And for me, that was the turning point. I went through that for a year and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not doing architecture. And but I lost that battle because my mom eventually won, you know, due to just intense pressure. Anyway, enrolled for architecture a year later, started architecture, and halfway through my architecture, I just thought, like, yeah, this isn't working. You know, it was meant to be a 4-year course. Halfway through my second year, I basically just thought, nah, I can't do this anymore. Not that I wasn't creative enough, but the difference for me between architecture and you know, and the other sort of creative,
art and design,
you get a little bit more creative freedom. Like you're not too constricted by, you know, because architecture, you're designing something to be built in a very limited space. So it could be, you know, one plot, two plots, it could be an extension. So I just thought that I love the freedom of creativity and freedom of designing. So I definitely am going to, I was just bored of it, you know, so I just thought, yeah, no. I mean,
architecture is more of a science than an art, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think the sort of final nail in the coffin for me was before I said, you know, I definitely, I'm going to pursue this, because I was already freelancing. I was already making some money, you know, at the time. And for me, the final nail in the coffin was I already started to make roughly the same amount of money as what I would make being a junior architect. I was already making that just.
Oh, wow.
And
what is that to just?
So at the time, so this was years ago. At the time, it was
so this was like 2000, maybe 8 or 2006, 7.
Yeah, it was. I think around 25K. Based on when I checked.
Which I remember back in the day, if you had 24K. I mean,
you were balling. Yeah, you were balling. You know. So for me, that was that. So so that because I'm a very rational guy too. You know, like it's got to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, then So that for me was one, and then two, I started to track down as many people as I could find that had graduated from that uni to see what they ended up doing with the architecture degree that they got. And a lot of them were working on very, 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 well, I would consider very average projects or very low projects in my estimation. Projects such as, you know, designing plans for someone's garden extension. Let's say someone wants to build, a small extension, or there were, like there was nothing super creative or super, it was just boring work to me. So I was like, so is this what I'm building up for? It's like, no, I'm definitely not doing this. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, it takes a lot of time to get to a point where you can be sort of a head architect and you can make your ideas actually. And the thing, even then, even if you are the head of an architecture sort of company, it's a lot of the times it's your client's building that you're building. And how much creativity you have depends on how much they give you, because essentially they're paying you to do their work. It's not, And I guess it's similar with design, but design, you could be a lot more visual art and stuff. You could be a lot more creative, and the thing is, it doesn't cost you to build your design. Your medium
is digital, or your medium is print. So it's like, buildings,
But like with
don't want
architecture,
to make them.
It's construction. It's No, so what's it called? That you researching into sort of what people sort of were doing, sort of who graduated from your course, was that to sort of go back to your mum and sort of justification for like why it doesn't make sense for you to do architecture? Degree, or was it more for you, for yourself?
Because when I'm absolutely certain about a direction I want to go, sometimes I like when I make my mind up, right, that this is what I'm doing. I just need the evidence. Once I can see the evidence, I believe in, you show them eventually and they'll see it. So if you have a vision, or if you believe something should be a certain way, if you try to verbally, articulate it and explain it and people still don't get it, just show them. So, I'd already had previous conversations with my mum, and of course she wasn't entertaining it, or, she would end up saying things like, well, it's your life, if that's how you want to live, if all your mates are graduating, blah, blah, blah. And, for a period, that really got to me, but I had to channel that energy into almost proving her wrong and proving everyone else wrong, that actually I can do it myself and still achieve something even better than people that have gone to uni and that have gone to, and have sort of spent time doing this the traditional way, basically. So that was my motivation. And in 2010, I basically said, I definitely want to do this.
You're going to go full time.
Go into this full time.
So, I just want to sort of touch on, your mum and sort of coming from an African family. Can you just talk a bit about like your sort of background? Because I think there's people that will particularly like relate, like, just so people know, Tola and I are married to sort of sisters.
Oh yeah, that's always good to give context.
We're married to sisters, and we sort of see some of the pressure that, their mum sort of puts on some of their younger siblings about like what they should do. So like, I mean, we've been through it. I think my experience wasn't as tough as yours or theirs, but and I'm sure there's other people that can relate to that sort of experience. But it'll be good if you sort of just let people know a bit about sort of your family background and sort of what that experience is like.
So I think in terms of background, again, because I've never actually done any sort of public or external. I've never really had a conversation like this before. So where I'm basically just sharing all my journey. So actually, this is the first, and I guess it sort of shows how much I guess I value our relationship, because I've had the opportunities to sort of speak and talk about my journey, but I've always declined, because I just think I'm still building something. There's no point
a lot there
talking about it while you're building. Just work, and later on, if there's an opportunity where you've actually achieved all the things that you say you were going to do, then you can start to talk about it, you know. And also it's just, yeah. So anyway, in terms of my background, I'll probably be more brief there. So, I am the first, son of, 5 kids. So it's me, it's my younger brother, 2 sisters, and my younger brother as well. I didn't grow up with my dad properly. I think from probably ages 7 or 8, you know, I just noticed that he was never really there. And then over time, I got to understand that, him and my mom eventually got divorced, you know, and basically went their separate ways. He went to America and basically grew up with my mom. So my mom has always been like the center of gravity where, you know, I have always revolved around. And I guess so I would even go as far as saying she put pressure on me. She didn't. I think that I put pressure on me not to disappoint her because I know how much she had invested in, you know, just investing into our future by, you know, just bringing us to this country and just really working so hard just to try and make sure everything that she wanted for us actually she did. So, I guess the whole pressure of what to do in life and how to, you know, how to orient myself in terms of what I'm going to be focused on and what career and what I'm going to be. I think those things were just pressures I put on myself because I just don't want to let my mom down. I just don't want to feel like, you know, and, you know, I had this pressure of being a firstborn as well, saying, you know, you're the one going first and you're showing the way to, I guess, everyone else. So,
and the firstborn male child in a Nigerian household is a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And I was the first grandson as well. So it was like the first of everything. So I was like, wow, okay. And I guess it wasn't until later I really understood what that role meant and what I had to do basically in that role. But, and then thirdly, my name. So my full name is Tola, which means, a child that's as big as wealth or as worthy as wealth, something like that. But, you know, I've always had this in the back of my mind that people aren't named randomly. Well, some people are. But most people aren't named randomly. There's always a reason why you've been called what you've been called because, you know, there's a million names. So I've always held the significance of my name very highly, and I've always knew that I had to make something of myself, and not just in a way of legacy, but also financially, just as, you know, because I love metrics. I love to measure things, and money is a very quick way. Money is not everything, but it's a very quick way of measuring, you know, things practically as well. Time and money, are very good measuring tools.
I actually didn't know that your name meant that, and I love the fact. I think that speaks to sort of the culture of like the Yoruba tribe, like the fact that you give their children meaningful names, and a lot of the names have to do with like royalty or wealth. It sort of speaks to sort of the sort of inherent ambition. Of, like,
and identity.
Yoruba people.
It's like how you see yourself and how you carry yourself. You know, if you think you're worth something or if you think you're royal, then of course, you know, you carry yourself in the same manner.
The same way. And I think you do see that. You do see that dignity or that pride, generally sort of in Yoruba peoples, particularly. But so just back to sort of your journey. So we're 2000 and sort of 9-ish, 10. So
10.
Your main business as a freelancer is sort of doing flyers from sort of the parties during uni. You've made sort of, a lot of connection, I'm guessing, with sort of promoters and whatever. So you built up that sort of client base, but now, what you're trying to do is sort of move to branding. You're trying to sort of bridge out,
get a bit more corporate. That's the way.
Get a bit more corporate. Sort of grow. Like talk about how you sort of made that transition. Cause like, I guess you got your client base sort of, and you're talking to people sort of similar age to you, similar sort of background.
Actually,
but now you're sort
no.
of moving. Oh, okay. Yeah, go on. Tell me.
So, I would say, so very quickly, I realized that I had a way of working with people that were sometimes twice my age, and I could communicate to them, and I could deliver what they wanted as well. So I was very used to kind of, just dealing with, like, most meetings I was always in, I was always the youngest or most.
This is even with, sort of when you first started with the flyers?
With the flyers, yes, because it tends to, or I was dealing more with, people that had been in the whole, actually, when I started with like a lot of the uni guys, and then eventually it sort of rolled out to like established people that have been in the events, space for years, even before I even got to the UK. So I started working with them because they could see the difference where I just wasn't good at designing. I understood the commercial value of what they were trying to do, and also I was very professional about. That was one thing I made to be a thing, because there was this. Okay, I'm gonna be very stereotypical now, but this was my thinking when I was younger, which is there was this thing I noticed when I came to the UK, that black people just had this stigma, especially African people, of just being unprofessional. Just you call them, they answer the phone like, yo, what's good? How can I help you? And it's like, for me, yes, fine, it's good to be yourself, but also it's good to be professional and understand that not everyone communicates how you communicate, and learn to adapt yourself. So very quickly, that's one thing I started doing, and yeah, people really appreciated that. Like people would even go as far as, when they spoke to me eventually, over the phone, because sometimes I did quite a lot of my communication via, email. So sometimes I might not even speak to a client verbally. And then when they actually spoke to me, I heard my very strong Nigerian accent. They'll be like, oh wow, I didn't know you were Nigerian. I thought you were, I thought you were white, or, I thought you were English, I thought you were, this, or I thought you were older, So for me, that was just a mark of, I guess, how what I was trying to do professionally was working. So yeah, in 2010, just based on all the experience, I had, gained, I thought, right, it's time to do this. And at the time then, I literally wasn't even considering failure, or this couldn't work. Like, my mind was absolutely set on, this has to work somewhere. So,
there was a fearlessness.
There was, and it's when I eventually even wrote my core values down, that was one of the actual, things, I actually put down that would be representative of the agency and the company, which is, we're fearless and we're bold. So that was just characteristics I saw in myself at the time that I wanted to replicate in the business as well. And yeah, I just very quickly found people around me that I knew needed work, and had the skills I was looking for. So
what kind of stuff were they doing? Like, how did you know these people? So these were people with businesses, or?
No. Oh, do you mean the clients?
Yeah, the clients.
Oh, the clients. Okay, so yeah.
Oh, what were you talking about? Like, when you said,
I was talking more about people like my actual employees that I started to build a small team of people. In terms of clients, I've always had one policy right from one main thing is, if you do great work, it will lead to more work. That's it. So I always treated every single project I did, and I over delivered. Even in cases where financially it wasn't.
So this is with the flyers even.
This is with everything. Like if I was working on a small flyer, or or a small website, or whatever the task was, that was always my policy, which is just do great work. Just do great work, and it will lead to good, because people will be so blown away by what you've done, and they'll be compelled to tell someone else. Because word of mouth for me was the biggest. And fine, I did networking events. I did advertising on social media. Then when it was just in its early days, still trying to take hold. But my core, I always believed, just word of mouth.
So it was through word of mouth.
Yeah.
But I mean, even then, word of mouth, like, I mean, you said it started with, sort of parties and uni parties. But I mean, so what were you doing websites for these people as well at the same time?
No, I wasn't. It was just flyers.
Okay. It was just flyers.
So time, like, how did it even,
yeah, you're going.
Like okay, this is super, 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 super cheeky, but I found the best guy that was working, that everyone was working with at the time. I knew he was charging probably 3-4 times what I was charging. So I basically made it a personal challenge to try and design as close to what he was delivering in terms of quality, and basically on a charge for it. So very, very quickly,
that's business.
People just started to realize that, oh wow, like if you want to get quality as good as this guy without paying the
higher price,
fees, then go to him. And I was quick as well. Like he would take on average 5 to 7 days. I would turn around stuff sometimes in 3 hours, sometimes same day.
So you essentially provided the same product, but just with a better sort of service. Yeah. And it was I guess word of mouth sort of I guess what sort of encouraged people to actually tell other people was, I guess, how good the work was compared to the price they were paying, and just the speed. And that's where the name actually came from, Swifty, which is just speed. Okay.
Like I was like, even looking back now, even today, that's one of the core reasons why some people know that if I get stuff done quick.
Yeah, I actually didn't know. Like, I mean, it's so obvious. I actually didn't know that was the reason.
Yeah,
that's so obvious. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, so you got that sort of established. You sort of working with sort of club fires and promoters or whatever. What I want to try and get into is like how you sort of made that step from just doing sort of the flyers to sort of moving to sort of the branding and the website sort of design and sort of what it's sort of grown into. How did because I guess your clients for flyers aren't necessarily going to have businesses that need sort of branding. So it's not like you can say,
they're very small budget.
They're small budget. So like the person they would refer you to isn't going to be a company, or I don't know. I wouldn't think would be sort of a company or business that needs that sort of service. How did you sort of make that step? How did you go from the flyers to sort of the branding?
I'll actually be as brutally plain as I can. Brutally honest. I would say one, it was just arrogance. I believed my work was too good for them at the time. Because, over the years, my work got so good that I was like, no, I can get more for the quality and professionalism and just the processes I had internally. Like I could definitely, charge a whole lot more. And it made sense that these guys weren't going to pay me more. So I need to go elsewhere and actually look for people that are used to working with professional companies and are used to working with a very, very, at a very high standard and are willing to pay more. So it just made natural sense that branding. And it took me a while to realize that even my choice of focusing specifically on branding actually ties into my, my problem solving and my love of building things. So this all ties into architecture as well, where, there's a problem and as opposed to just designing something based on just what you like with like branding, there's a specific task you are trying to achieve. Sometimes it could be tied to commercial activities. Sometimes it could be tied to marketing activities. Sometimes it could be tied to perception. You know, a brand wants to change a perception people have of them. Then it comes to me. So what can we do? I then start to say, hey, you might need a new website, you might need a new logo, you might need to tweak your colors, you might need to do this. So, yeah, I just, in terms of making that transition, I just got to a point where I was like, yeah, I'm not going to work for these guys anymore because I just feel like I can get more.
You had the skills that can be So that's almost similar to, sort of the beginning, like, you know, like when you were at uni, you needed a job, and like, like you didn't want to go and work in a bar or work in retail because you knew you had skills that could be better paid somewhere else. Like, yeah, so that's again, you've seen the opportunity and you sort of gone for it. Yeah. But I guess that sort of speaks as well to like your whole sort of problem solving sort of skills. You sort of see a solution where people probably don't even see a problem.
And I'll just add as well, you know, it's at the time, these were just internal things that I just felt like I needed to do.
You couldn't articulate them.
Yeah, it's looking in hindsight that I can try to like understand the rationale and join the dots. But at the time, because I'm a person that I feel more like I not that I rely on my feelings entirely, but I'm very there's a word for it. Is it perceptive or instinctual or anyway?
Instinctual, yeah.
Feelings, like I take a lot of directions from my feelings, and if I feel very strongly about something, I just, I just take action. Of course, I would always use all the facts as I can get to try and maybe inform my rational side. But I can be very irrational sometimes, and a lot of my drivers tend to be quite emotional drivers. So at the time, I just felt this is what I want to do, and I literally just put all my eggs in one basket. That starting a company, I went online, found out how to incorporate, a company, did that, and just started reaching out to people that, hey, this is what I now do. Like, I was still getting promoters reaching out to me and saying, hey, you're the flyer guy, right? And, and I remember that used to annoy me so much. Like, what do you mean I'm the flyer guy?
You see that as sort of demeaning.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not the flyer guy. I was the flyer guy.
Yeah, no, I get that. What's it good? I just wanted to say, like, I think that's, like earlier you were talking about, when we were talking about your background, like your family background. You were saying that you've had opportunities to sort of talk about like where you've come from, but you chose not to, and you thought like, in the future, when I've made it, when I've done the things I want to do, I can sort of talk about that. But I think that's the whole thing you're saying, like you're instinctual, you're a lot of what you do is based on sort of feelings. I think sometimes it's easy to sort of lose that in time. Like when you're looking back, you're not always going to sort of remember those things. So I think that's why, like, it's good to sort of document these, like what we're doing now. Like, so you're actually, I don't even know, making notes or whatever, but like you're actually talking about like your experiences while you're sort of living it. And I think that's helpful to others as well.
Well, it's, I think for me, it's so helpful to me because, I just don't do this. I'm always in just going mode. So, and I guess the decision to sort of do this with you just goes to one. It's just trust. I feel, I did say I'm very, very instinctive or very, so like when you asked me to do this, now it's like, it just felt right. It felt right. If it didn't feel right, it would have been a different outcome because that's just how, but I guess I feel like I can talk to you like for hours. Trust me. Like anytime we talk, it's always just always easy and it just flows there's no finessing on both sides. It's just exactly the way it is, basically.
No, I sort of feel the same, and I think as well as being sort of willing to sort of be interviewed, you're actually the person that sort of pushed me to actually do this. So no, I appreciate that. Just to check, are you pressed for time or can you continue talking?
I think maybe, next 15 minutes, maybe.
Next 15.
20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, no problem. I'll keep that in mind. So, just back to where you are sort of doing this journey, sort of from, getting your first sort of business sort of client, sort of flyer. Do you remember the first sort of client you got where where you're making that step, where you wanted to apply your sort of skills?
What is it, making the switch from flyers to corporate
branding or corporate? Yeah.
So I don't remember my first branding client, but I remember my first flyer client. Actually, it was my very good friend, Alex. He had started a party, and before then, I'd gone around to literally everyone. I do flyers now. If you need me. Everyone was like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's cool. And no one actually paid me, or everyone wanted me to do stuff for free. I did some for free, but Alex was the first person that said, here's an amount, do a flyer for me, and that was my first official
paid
transaction,
customer.
basically. But in terms of branding, I think because I was already in that flow, I don't think it was memorable for me. I kind of just thought, right, I need to get clients.
It's just another client sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you remember the process though doing it? Do you remember how difficult it was to sort of get a corporate client? Because I guess you're already sort of in the world of sort of club flyers. I don't know if it was an easy.
It wasn't. That's
sort of
I don't remember it being difficult because again, my mantra or my policy is always do great work and it would always attract more work. So I just even off the back of the very clubby flyers that I done, some corporate people saw that and really thought, oh wow, okay, if you can do this in this space, then I'm pretty sure if you had more of a budget and more of a clearer brief, I'm sure you can do something better with this. So I kind of just had people that were willing to have conversations, and those conversations led to actual paid projects, and kind of just worked on the projects. And over the next few years, I just worked on, right, how do I scale this in a repeatable way? And that's when I started to look into business management and marketing and working on internal flows and processes, and all those things were things that I knew that if I didn't have it, I would just end up being a freelancer that's really good at design, but doesn't actually run a business or doesn't actually own a business, or just many of my so-called friends that at uni as well started designing because it was very easy to get into. It's low barrier. All you need is Photoshop and a laptop, and you can call yourself a designer basically. But I guess one thing I always knew that I definitely never wanted to be that flash in the pan sort of type person that just comes and make so much money or just get all this fame and they just disappear. Like there's no consistency. So over the next 7 years, between 2010 and 2017, when I officially shut down the company or closed down the company, that was all I did. Just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew and grew, and the team grew from just me to 2 people to 3, all the way up to I think in total, including me, we're a team of 5.
I have to say,
and I had an office in New Cross for I think a year or 2 years, and then when I said, right, it's time for the next step again. So these next steps, I just always get this weird feeling where it's just like, right, it's time for the next step. Like I can never really explain why, but it's just there. When I felt that in 2014, 2015, I basically just said, right, I definitely want to start to attract much bigger clients. And I identified 4 four or five different sectors that I wanted to target. One of those was, or the main one was, finance and tech. And I thought, yeah, why don't I go to Canary Wharf where there's a whole bunch of, banks and insurance companies. Got an office there, and I was there for a year. But that was a terrible decision because I realized very quickly a lot of the bigger companies will prefer to work with bigger agencies.
They see it's more reliable.
The risk factor is just too much. Yeah. So even though, yes, you can deliver, you are like, they just felt like, no. So I was there just constantly pitching, constantly marketing, constantly networking, and nothing ever really converted. I had some really good conversations that a few years later actually turned into something, but at the time when I needed it to turn into something, yeah, it was because I was paying rent in Canary Wharf, and that took its toll on the business where, I lost a whole bunch of money because we weren't making money. I still had to pay people. So eventually, just that kind of just led to me,
sort of going a bit more lean,
thinking about potentially, just going a bit more lean and thinking of an alternative way to kind of still run this. And, I left Canary Wharf, started, attempted to run the business, working from home, but I had like a co-working space that I could hop into every once in a while if I needed to see clients and I did that for about a year, and after a while I just had a baby as well around then, our first son, and mentally just that transition, because a business is like a baby. If you don't neglect it, or also if you don't give it attention, it literally starts to die very quickly, especially when it's still pretty young. So I felt like I was juggling, trying to be a dad, trying to be a business owner, because it's not a 9 to 5. It was back-breaking work. So I just thought, you know what? Rather than my son and my family suffer, I need a break. So that's the first time in my life I actually considered getting a job. And in, I think, May 2017, I eventually just put my CV out there just to see what's going to happen. And very quickly got interviews, got amazing interviews at amazing positions, got so many offers, and eventually chose one, which I guess we can talk about.
Because I think this whole section, like I've been in your life for this period, and I think sort of talking about this this time in your life, I think can be an hour of sort of, I don't know, just story by itself. Maybe, but
maybe there should be a part 2 or something.
I do think like a follow up, because you know what, like our story is always evolving, and I think this is just a snapshot in a period of time. We sort of talked about sort of where you've come from, like where you are now, the sort of the journey in between. But I do like the idea of, like, I was thinking about this earlier, like Homes Under the Hammer. You sort of meet them at the start, at the start of the project. And then they sort of see the journey. They come back a couple of years later. They're not quite there, and they're still sort of building. And then they come back a few years after that, and then they sort of see the sort of finished product. Yeah. So
I love that show.
I don't know. I would like to sort of maybe sort of continue. I may do another sort of talk when you sort of have the time or whatever, sometime in the future, or even like if it's not a snapshot, where you are at that point, maybe like other aspects, because I think there are quite a few sort of different things I wanted to talk about, like, being a Nigerian sort of in this, being black in this industry, but then even being sort of a person that sort of, sort of come over from Nigeria. Sort of, you sort of touched on sort of having an accent in that. Yeah. And I think there's a lot there that I think you could share that would be sort of helpful to people, or that people be able to relate to. But yeah.
No, definitely. And I would love to, because that really, helped. I say helped, but that really shaped, I guess, how I evolved in this country, because, it affects how people interact with you, or how people think how smart you are, or how, like if you sound, very African, then they just think, oh no, it's fresh. He doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can expand that. Something just came to mind that I remembered because, I always like to quantify this just so that it's not vague. So I mentioned back then, that I, just before I decided to basically leave uni, I was halfway through my second year. I was already making just from doing flyers. I was already making what
junior architect.
What a junior architect would make, which was 24, 25 grand a year, which I think on average a month was about 2 grand a month, before taxes. But 2 years on, around 2010, one thing that also gave me the absolute confidence that, this can work, is I had seen financial growth. Like, I've seen measured growth. So around 2010, I on average, just from doing flyers and just from doing, additional minor services here and there, I was doing on average 7 grand a month.
Yeah.
And this is this was like a young me. Like, this was like a young me. And it's like, wow, like, even today, I know grown-ups, like, and I guess also that was the turning point for my mom as well. Cause I was renting, all this time, and I was just living, up and down, cause I wasn't living with my mom. But because I knew I was moving houses all the time, I didn't want to constantly keep changing all my letters. So all my letters still went to my mom's house, and I would always go there maybe once every 2 weeks just to go and pick it up. Or I'll phone her sometimes to say, can you, open and sign. So she opened one of my letters one day, and it was a bank statement. And she was just blown away. She was like, I can't believe you're making
from your flyers.
Just from doing it. And you're not even, and you're not even a business yet.
That's when she accepted.
So I think that was the day where things,
the proof's in the pudding.
She sort of accepted this isn't some hobby stuff on the side. And every time after that, anytime we jumped on the phone, or she would always check in to see how business is going, and pray for me over the phone all the time. That pray for growth and more business, and so I think that was a turning point to where financially, oh wow, this is no game. And even for me, because for me, a lot of the time, because I'd never really worked, I didn't know what people made at certain levels. So I just thought, everyone must be on, something, 5 grand a month.
No, so that's,
I realized later that,
and especially 10 years ago, 10 years ago, at that age. Like, I mean, that's probably maybe like, now that sort of, what you're saying, 6 or 7 a month you're making?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's that? That's 72, upwards. Like, I mean, now that's probably worth like 100k, which is like,
and that's director level.
That's good money.
You're literally in charge of like steering, a decent size
as a salary as well.
A company with 100 employees. So for me, that was, but again, I have to, like, I had very low overhead. Like, literally all I had,
which is a mistake.
Laptop,
you missed a mistake you made in changing, like, in sort of, You've nailed that right on the head. So, I made a very naive assumption that cash at the bank means you have money, and you having money in the bank means you can take certain decision. I didn't really understand forecasting and just looking ahead and actually, managing your finances in a way that you can take certain steps in a very staged or staggered way, as opposed to just going all. But Tola, like, we both said, like, the way we learn best is by doing. So I don't think you should have any, I don't even know if you have any regret. You can tell me, but like, you've learned the lesson by sort of doing, which is the best way you can learn a lesson. Like, I don't think you could beat yourself up if you do, I don't know if you do, about sort of making that decision, because like, I think it's natural to think that's sort of the next step in sort of progression. Like, you get your office or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like, I mean, the fact that you realize how you did it was, go on.
Yeah, for a few years, you know, yes, I did definitely beat myself up. It really held me back because I now became very adverse to risk. I wasn't just this guy that would think this and just go. So it took me probably up until last year or to really get back into being this guy now that just, you know, is fearless again and can just go out there and actually build things and actually do things, you know. So, yeah, but also I learned from it because now I know what not to do. Yeah, I will still take risks, but I know, I understand. Yeah, I just understand that there's always multiple approaches to things as opposed to just one gung ho. You load your shot, you take one shot, and you know, if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, that was my approach.
Yeah. So there's a bit more strategy behind your moves. Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot more strategy behind my moves. However, I'm still very gung ho. You know, about if I absolutely believe in something, I would load up that entire thing in a shot. And that's, I
mean, sometimes you just need to do it, don't you? Like, I mean, you just need to get it to market. You need to like test whether there's something actually in this idea. Yeah.
And you need to do that very quickly as well. You don't want to find out in 2 years that actually you've wasted the last 2 years. So actually load up your, you know, shot, take the shot, bounce back from it, learn very, very quickly what worked, what didn't work, and re-strategize and go back out there again. So this is how I'm living my life right now. And this is what I do with all the businesses I'm involved in. So with Marmalade and with the freelance business that I'm running right now, which, you know, as I've said, the goal is by the end of this year to stop freelancing or to switch that from being the primary source of income to Marmalade being that source of income. So on Marmalade, there's a team already. There's a team of 4 people, 1 employee that's been actually paid a salary, and the other 3 people basically have equity in the business, where I'm the sort of main shareholder or main equity holder in the business. But the plan is that will start to generate income and we'll be able to pay us as the co-founders
salaries as well,
some sort of revenue, and then I can officially start to wind down the design side.
But I think that's a good place to sort of bring the story to an end, because I think like I want this to sort of be sort of encouragement to people who, you know, specifically be their own boss, like, which I think you are, and that whole sort of idea about just if somebody out there has an idea that they want to sort of explore in like business, whatever it is, just to sort of get it out there, get it to market, test it, like have some processes in place, but like, actually just test the idea rather than trying to perfect it before you get it out there. I mean, that's a good, I don't know, a good way to sort of end this first segment or this first chapter I have with you. Yeah.
And just to add to that, just really add to, because I get a lot. So over the last few years, you know, over the last 10 years, you know, people start to realize that, you know, I'm very good at building things, which is, they come to me with just, you know, just an idea, just a thought, and very, very quickly I could start to bring structure to how to go from, you know, A to B. And a very good way, I don't know if this is, some methodology or what, this is just what I've always done. I literally would get down an A4 piece of paper, either written or just an A4 document, and just write down these main headlines. Why am I doing this? What am I doing? What is it? How am I trying to achieve this? Who do I need to achieve this? What do I need to do by when? And basically those, and finally, of course, how much will this cost me now? And basically once I have those things nailed down, like I never bother with business plans and this, because very quickly you just want to see within either, a space of a month or a space of 3 months, what can you learn very, very quickly. And that's the framework I use for everything that I approach. Everything.
It's sort of a more practical sort of plan than sort of a traditional sort of business plan. I like that.
Yeah.
And as well, like what I wanted to ask, I should have maybe asked you beforehand to think of this, but just to maybe recommend 2 books that you think have helped you sort of in your sort of journey that you think will help people if they sort of read it.
That's amazing. So in the early days, the first book I ever read properly that launched me into business understanding processes was Alan Sugar's biography. So yeah, like by that, it's quite a chunky book, but yeah.
It's always Audible.
So that's one.
Yeah. It's always Audible.
It's always Audible. Yeah. So that's one. And the second one I really read that really made me understand, vision and strategy and all these things, is Start with Why, Simon Sinek. Yeah.
Okay.
So that just helps you have a purpose, because without purpose, you're just like any other business out there. And actually without articulating those clearly and knowing exactly what you're looking to do and how you plan to achieve it, your chance of failure is absolutely high. And then I know
go ahead. Go on.
One more. And then recently I've just read a book about leadership. I can't remember the title exactly, but what
we'll do, we'll try and we'll find it out and we'll put a link. But yeah, give a description. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So it's actually, let me try and I've got it on my reading list here for my digital one. So it's called Leadership and 1 Minute Manager. Okay. That's what it's called. And 1 Minute Manager. Yeah. And it's by a guy called Ken.
Okay.
So that is a very practical book that, because as you're building a business, even if you're working with freelancers or you're working with collaborators or you're working with business partners or you're employing people, you're going to have to work with people. So it's just understanding, not leadership from the point of how to be, a good manager, just to understand how to work with people and different styles of people. So that's
Can I? I'm going to add a fourth, just because like we were talking about it. I think you've read this book as well, and I think it's just relevant to sort of that last bit of advice we gave, which sort of encouraging people to sort of just get on and get their idea moving. Just do it. Is the book is Lean Startup. Lean Startup, which is Lean Startup. Who's it by? Lean Startup. It's fine.
Eric something.
Oh, my internet is being slow, but yeah. Can you describe?
I've just googled it. So Eric
Rice, yeah. I don't know if you may be better at sort of giving a synopsis than me, but what I just remember about this was the whole idea about you've got a product, you've got an idea, rather than trying to perfect it with what you think will work in theory or what people want in theory. Rather, what you do is you get something you call the minimum viable product. So what is the least amount of effort, least amount of time? What is the most basic thing you can sort of build to sort of test whether there's something in your idea? You get it out there. You put things in place so you can measure, how it performs. You use that information. You, in the next iteration, make some changes, you revise it, you get it out there again and sort of incrementally improve what you're doing rather than trying to perfect it in theory and then get it out there, because it ends up not going out there and just being based on theory rather than real world feedback. And I think, that's, a really sort of,
No, that's a really great summary. And actually, practically, that's also how I've basically built Marmalade.
That's what it does sound like that.
You start with one thing and you basically just, learn and keep making changes. Yeah. So it's build, learn, measure, or build, measure, learn.
Yeah, build, measure, learn. Yeah. It's perfect. And, finally, if people sort of want to find you, sort of make contact with you, could you just, let them know where they can find you and how to find you?
So I know, yes, everyone's always given, Instagram. Yeah, I'm not active on Instagram. I'm not active on those things. So find me on LinkedIn, Tola Alade. So you can basically just find me on LinkedIn by typing my name, and I've got a website, tolaalade.co.uk.
So LinkedIn and the website, the best way to get in contact with you.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Tola. Thank you very much for being my first guest.
No, thank you very much, Lavian.
And once I've sort of trimmed it, edited it, it's probably going to be pretty much how it is when I sort of publish it. But I'll get it out there and I'll share it with you. But thank you again. And hopefully we get to do this again and we can sort of touch on some of the other areas that we sort of mentioned but didn't sort of go into too much detail about. But
definitely, and I'm looking forward to your next.
No.
I always like to learn from like.
I think you've done really well, to be honest. I really think you gave some good insight into what you do and where you've come from and like the journey to where you are now, which is what I was trying to get out. But thank you.
Awesome.
Cool.